Hey everyone, thank you for letting me interrupt the episode. I want to share with you something that myself, Ben, and Tambini have put together. It's our Family Reconnect group. Now, we're going to be kicking this off June 3rd. Now, what do you get with this? You get weekly Zoom calls with myself, Ben, Tambini. We're going to have experts in the field. We're going to have licensed clinicians. We're going to have people in recovery. We're going to have family members, loved ones that have gone through the treatment process with their loved ones and have come out the other side in a positive manner. We're going to have monthly newsletters. We're going to have a 12-week curriculum that you get. And also you get 2 bonus guides as well. Now, the Family Reconnect is going to be starting on June 3rd. Now, we just made it live. So you can go to realrecoverytalk.com/FRC. Again, it's realrecoverytalk.com/FRC to sign up. Now, it's a membership based. There's going to be a basic membership that you can buy, and then there's going to be a VIP membership that is also available to you as well. What do you get with the VIP? On the weeks that it's myself, Ben, and Tambini, we're going to log on an hour before everybody else, so you have a more personalized experience with us, and we're going to be doing that bi-weekly. So every 2 weeks throughout the month, myself, Ben, and Tambini, we're going to log on 1 hour before everybody else to give you a more personalized experience. You could talk with us about your experiences, what you're going through, what your struggles are, how we could support you. This is going to be a great community for family members, for loved ones. If you just want overall support, whether it's for yourself or a loved one, the Family Reconnect is something that we definitely want you to get involved in. There's also going to be a Facebook community. This is going to be completely private to the people that are inside of our community, and we can't wait to kick this off. This is something that we've wanted to do for a long time, and we feel like we're in a position to be able to offer this to you. So again, it's at realrecoverytalk.com/FRC. Go there, sign up. June 3rd, we're kicking off, and we're excited to see you there. Hey, everybody. In today's episode, it's myself, Benjamin B., and Prema. Prema comes on today's show to talk about grief and love, not grief and loss, which is what you may be used to hearing. Prema lost her son a few years back to fentanyl poisoning, and she goes into detail about how this really impacted her and what she has ultimately done moving forward to get through these hard times. Now, what's cool about what she has done is they have created a retreat. Now, Prema lives in Sweden, and they have a retreat every year that you could be a part of. And I will attach the link to her website in the show notes. So if that's something that you're interested, definitely go and check that out. Prema is also a part of an organization called LIT, which is Love in the Trenches, which she's been an active member of that organization for quite some time as well. Now, in this episode, we're talking a lot about passing of children through overdoses, through accidental overdoses, fentanyl poisoning. There are points in here where it does get emotional, but the cool thing is that through our conversations, you get to see that people having connections with one another and really just creating space for one another to allow the grieving process and to just be okay with the grieving process and have support is what is most important. And Prema has really done a phenomenal job giving that and making that available to many people. This episode was absolutely amazing. Ben, I think, shed a tear, so make sure you watch for that. Enjoy the show. Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I am your host, Tom Conrad. In today's episode, we've got Benjamin B.
What's happening, everyone?
And we have a lovely lady, Prema. Prema, how are you?
I'm grateful to be here, Tom.
Am I pronouncing it right? Prema?
Yeah, Prema.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
First things first, thank you for tuning in on the podcast app, whichever one that you choose to use, and thank you for watching on YouTube. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you could always reach us, info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com, and ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message. Right, friends?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What do you think of my hat? Blue? Little different today?
That's what, when you first walked in the door this morning, I was like...
Threw you off a little bit.
It did.
You like it or no?
It doesn't match your outfit, but yes, I like it.
What do you mean it doesn't match?
It's like a totally different blue.
All right.
Matches your eyes, though.
There you go.
Oh,
That's
there
what I
we
was
go.
going for.
Yeah.
Brings out the blueness in my eyes.
We're like brothers.
Yeah.
Literally born same exact day, same year.
Yeah.
We were both born April 7th, 1984.
Wow.
Just turned 41.
Yeah.
He's a few hours older than I am.
And wiser. I always add that.
That's up for debate. Okay, so here we are. Prema, thanks for coming on. Let me just say this. Anytime we have an opportunity to have a parent come on to share their experience, we can't pass that up, because oftentimes, and honestly, this is how this podcast was born years ago. A lot of times people focus on people like me and Ben. You know, we're addicts, we're alcoholics. All the energy, all the resources go towards people like us. And parents oftentimes are left to just kind of figure it out. And so looking back on 2017, that was where this podcast originally started, was to be a resource for family members, loved ones, to better understand people like Ben and myself and the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of other people that are like us. Now it's morphed over the years to really being anybody that has struggled with addiction or in recovery, family members, loved ones. But having moms come on to talk about their experiences are the most received episodes that we do. Why that is, I don't know, but there's something to it. And so when we were talking yesterday, Prema and I were on the phone yesterday, and through conversation found out that you were, and I didn't know this, I knew that you had found us from LIT, which is Love in the Trenches. We actually had Sean on the podcast years ago, probably, that goes back 2-3 years, probably.
Probably about 2 years.
Yeah, so LIT is a nonprofit foundation called Love in the Trenches, and it's a great organization. How would you best describe LIT? Because I don't want to screw it up.
They are literally love in the trenches. It was founded by two moms, one who lost a child, one whose son is in recovery. And it's this amazing organization that hosts groups for parents who have children that are struggling, and also grief groups.
Yeah.
And we have over 300 parents in our grief groups. And I'm a grief group leader.
Yeah. And so that's how we connected. And so I was sitting downstairs in Melissa's office, and I was on the phone with Prema, and I'm just like, you know what? Do you want a podcast tomorrow? And here we are. And so obviously you have a story. Obviously we're going to get into that. But I think all to say that, you know, I can tell, and we've only officially met in person the last 10 minutes. And I think you're going to have a big impact on our listener community. So I'm excited for this. Ben, what do you got?
Do you mind if we start, I'd like to hear from you, exactly what it is you do today before we get into the story. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that way I feel like there's some context up front, right in the beginning of the episode of, what this is about. And because, in my opinion, it sounds like you have a lot more knowledge than the two of us for sure on this topic. So would you mind kind of explaining what it is, what you do?
Yeah. And I would have to say, I don't feel like I'm knowledgeable, but my experience has definitely created wisdom, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I do lead a grief group in LIT. I was asked to lead a group. And then Sean, who you were speaking about earlier, reached out to me and asked me to lead a yoga, because I'm a yoga meditation teacher, been for many years, to lead one online for parents who have children struggling with substance use or have lost a child. So
it sounds like with LIT, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm making an assumption that you started attending LIT for yourself.
Yes.
And then Sean saw something and asked you to. Can you elaborate on that a little?
Yeah. So I lost my son, and it's been 3 years ago, April 30th, this month. And my 20-year-old son, I lost him to fentanyl poisoning. In Berkeley, California, I'd never had fentanyl before. He got a Xanax from a friend of a friend. One of those very sad, tragic stories. And I live in Sweden. So after we had his celebration of life, went back to Sweden. And, I knew I needed to be with other parents that understand this loss. And I was just in so much pain. It had been about 4 months. And I'm also a meditator. So I just knew I had to somehow find some stillness. So I just prayed. I deeply prayed for guidance. Like, I need help. I mean, I just don't know how I'm going to survive this pain. And he was my youngest child, my baby. And when I prayed, I got this guidance. Go online and look for a group. Because I don't speak Swedish that well. I'm in the countryside. I was isolated. And I went online and I found Lit right away and reached out, spoke to Sean eventually. And she really was like a mentor for me from there on. I do have 2 other boys that are in recovery. So she helped me kind of navigate through that because both of them said that they are going to be in recovery in honor of Lance. So it really was a turning point for our whole family. And Lit really created a space for us. And because I have discovered that I need to really connect with something much deeper inside me to be able to move through these really difficult, scary feelings. I went on a retreat myself and really experienced a lot of relief from that. And I shared a lot of this with Lit, and they asked me, can you lead a yoga class, for the parents? So I do it on Zoom. And through that work and also leading a grief group after a year, I realized that we need to get together. The moms and the parents in the group kept saying, I wish I could see you. I wish we can connect. And showing up online just a couple times a week is such a lifeline. But to be able to come together felt like this would be extraordinary. And, it had been about a year after my son passed. And I thought, how can I create such a space? We have a beautiful space in Sweden, in the countryside, and we have the room. But I felt like, how can I do that myself? I'm in so much, I'm heartbroken. How can I show up for other parents? And a voice inside, and I believe it's my son's voice, and he said, Mom, this is our work now. You're not alone. And for me, it's creating a space for others to come together in our brokenheartedness. And in that space, we also find that we have an open heart and there's a deeper healing that happens. So we had our first retreat last summer, and we had 13 parents that came from the United States. Some of them couldn't afford the ticket. So one parent I spoke to, she said, I want to come, but I can't. And I sat in stillness. That's my place where I need to go to connect to my wisdom beyond all of the, grief in the brain. And it came up, do a GoFundMe. So I did a GoFundMe and brought 3 other parents over, paid for their tickets through the GoFundMe. So this is really about facilitating and creating a space. And it was extraordinary. It was healing. And we also create that space for the possibility of being able to feel joy again. The possibility of being able to live your life with your grief and hold it with tender love. And that's what it's about. And we do it through journaling, through nature, through yoga, being together. And we have our next one this summer. It's full. And we're creating, we have a wait list for another retreat. And we're also, because of demand and other people asking, we're opening it up to other family members and to other people that have had loss. Because this is work that I've been discovering is so needed. And so, like you were saying, in the recovery world, it's like us parents, we're left on the sidelines and we need a place. And that's what called me. And the love for my son. And in honor of him. And I swear, when parents come together, it's like their children are with us. I feel their presence. Mm-hmm. And it gives, and so often parents will say, they will feel their children in the retreats. And it's not something we intentionally try to create. It's just kind of magically happens beyond.
Wow.
So that's what we're up to. That's what I'm up to.
Well, this started heavy already. I almost went for the tissues.
It's a good type of heavy, though.
It is. There was a lot there. My brain was just going a million miles an hour. You said something really powerful that I want to point out, because I believe that this is a solution to so many, I guess I'll refer to them as negative, painful experiences in life.
Yeah.
What you said is, and you proposed it as a question to yourself, how am I going to help somebody else when I'm in this pain myself? I don't know that I quoted exactly, but it was along those lines. That's the same way I look at recovery. Like as an addict, I always say we're uniquely qualified to help others who have been through the pain, the experiences that we've been through. Like all the trauma that I've been through uniquely qualifies me to help others that have been through the same thing. And that transfers over, I believe, to grief, where regardless of the pain that we're in or we've experienced, I found something for myself from the recovery perspective of like, no matter how bad I'm feeling, like when I meet up with the sponsee or if I do an intervention or something along those lines, my heart is on that other person's pain. Yeah. And to be able to utilize what hurts me to help somebody else for at least temporarily and almost permanently throughout my life, it becomes an asset rather than a liability, which I just love that you brought that up, because regardless of you questioning yourself, to me, it sounds like you're like, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway.
That's right.
And let me go into this too, because, to be straight up, my eyes were welling up a little bit when you were talking. And I always bring it up when...
Let me get you this in preparation.
All right, thanks,
This
Tom.
is from our trusty Real Recovery Talk tissue box. Shout out to Tammy for having this created. Anyways, go ahead.
But so because I work in this field, Tom works in this field, we come across this a lot. And I've spoke for myself where, and I was telling you before we hit record, for me, being in the field for 12 years and my own active addiction and in recovery for 14 and a half years, like obviously I've seen a lot of death, overdose, etc., suicide. There's a part of me that's become numb to it. Once in a while, something comes along, though, where somebody really held a special place in my heart and it really affected me. In particular, and I'm bringing this up because I'd like your insight. The thing that I struggle with the most, honestly, is when parents lose a loved one, son, daughter, whatever the case is, and I don't have the words for them. It's and I want to give a specific example. We had a client come through Rock 3 years ago now, and this was a very different situation for me on a personal level. He went through Rock. We had a lot in common. He loved to work out. I hit the gym with a lot of our clients, all of our clients, if they were, want to participate in it. Him in particular, we ended up working out, outside of Rock, especially when he finished the clinical program. And he ended up, I was coaching my son in tackle football, this guy happened to be a semi-pro football player up in New York before getting into opiates, and came down to us for treatment. So when he was in towards the end of his treatment, I was talking with this therapist, and she was like, "It would be great if he came out with you, Ben, and coach football. Can you help? Can you get him doing that so he can find some purpose again?" And he came out and actually coached my son's football team with me, and he was amazing with the kid. Like, just so he got real close with my son. My son really looked up to him, like literally as a mentor. He ended up getting over a year clean, started working in the treatment industry, and a relapse overdose, passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that.
But because of our relationship, his parents have stayed very close, and you know, I'm going to leave his name and stuff anonymous, but for instance, I wanted to share this. Like Tom was saying, we were born the same day, same year, so we both just celebrated our birthdays, last Monday? But the dad sent me a text message, and I'd like to read it. Just says, "Happy birthday. Hope you're enjoying your special day. One day soon we need to get together for a chat. Hope you and your sons are okay. Enjoy." I responded, "Thank you." But he ended up following up with this. And this is the part where I struggle hearing. I'm glad that he's comfortable communicating with me.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, "One day at a time. They say that time heals, but that's total bullshit. Coming up on 3 years without my son, and this one seems to be the hardest. Need to start taking care of me and finding my happy place. Grief sucks. One day we can discuss, as I could use your opinion. Ciao for now."
Yeah.
So, you know, this was 3 years ago, and the mom comes down and visits a few times a year with us, you know, and hangs out with us at Rock. And she says, I feel like when I'm with you guys, I'm closest to my son. I'm bringing all this up because, I don't know, again, just selfishly looking for your insight on, like, I know that when a past client or a friend or a family member of mine passes from this disease, they're at peace. You know, I believe that in my heart. But then the parents are still here.
That's right.
And that's the part that hurts me more. Because they're still here and they're in pain. And I just find myself in a lot of situations through the role that we have, doing admissions, working with the families to get their loved one help.
Yeah.
You get close. You know each other on a very intimate level. I don't know. I guess I'll just stop there.
Yeah. And something that what you just said about this father said time, it doesn't get better over time. And this April 30th in today's what? April 11th. My son's 3-year anniversary is coming up. And I cannot say it's easier. I can sit here and speak to you without breaking down in pain, because it's the grief. I have found that the pain needs to be held with incredible tenderness and love. And like this father said, that I need to take care of myself. I need to find my happy place. And for me, that was key. You know, like, how can we find our happy place? And it's different for each parent. And I hear this in my grief groups so often from parents, you know, after a year or 2-year anniversary, that the pain is not any worse. And, you know, time does not heal. I mean, I just have to say, it doesn't take away this pain. But what we can do is, how are we going to choose to live our life, and to actively try to find things that create some kind of joy, some moments of joy, some moments of happiness. And over time, I often share with my parents, because at first, you know, they're like, will I be able to continue to live? You know, how am I going to live, you know, after it's been maybe just 6 months or a year? And what I can share from my experience is that, you know, this is our grief. And at the beginning, it's here. It dominates everything. It dominates our mind. It dominates our heart and our spirits, our world, our relationships. But over time, and this is where I feel over time, we can find some things that can help navigate through the grief, to find some moments of joy, whether it's walking, in nature, whether it's showing up for somebody, just whatever it is. And, starting to bring up, like filling our life with a little more and finding purpose, to find a little more joy and purpose in life. And then we start leveling it, bringing it up so that it can carry our grief. It's like the love, our joy, our purpose eventually can carry our grief through life. And we don't feel so overwhelmed that this is it. This is it for the rest of our lives. The grief is here, but we can find ways. And that's where the grief retreat I found was very supportive for some parents. I think of one mom specifically. I mean, she came in and was she wouldn't talk to anybody. And she was just very, very depressed. And afterwards, she said, I believe I'm going to be able to continue and live my life now because of the connection that happened and just opening up to the possibility that there could be some happiness again. And so to this father, and to these two parents, I say, what is it that, that brings you a little bit of joy? If you could just do a little bit of that and create some space for it. And this is where prayer and, finding some kind of stillness. And I often think about grief is like the ocean, and we're like the ocean. And like our body, our being, our spirit, like however you want to think about, our beingness is the ocean. And grief are the waves. And, we're not our grief, but it's part of us. And if we can find a way to connect more to our ocean, like whatever that is, and allow this and somehow create some more space between us and the grief so that it can flow through more like a wave and not take us with it and destroy us. So it's, yeah.
So I had a similar situation happen not long ago. Not as relevant as your situation, but over the last couple of weeks, and Ben knows about this, what happened. We were working with a family, and a good friend of ours, it was a friend of a friend. So this guy, Sal, he's a good friend of ours. He's with this huge podcast, and a friend of his brother had just been released from prison and overdosed on fentanyl twice in 1 week. And this person did not shy away from drugs. Like it wasn't the same as your son, we'll say. It was accidental. Most fentanyl overdoses are accidental, but your son wasn't intentionally, like he was getting a Xanax, right? And it was
Right.
So anyways, we had worked out to where we were going to scholarship this guy. And last Monday, or maybe it was 2 Mondays ago now. 2 Mondays ago, he was supposed to fly in. I had talked to him, the day before through text. He overdosed and died. Literally the day before he was supposed to get to us. And I'm like, and I remember I was sitting in church when the text came through. Her name's Catherine. She won't mind. And I'm like, I didn't even know. And we do this for a living, right? We've seen so much death, unfortunately. But I'm sitting there in church and I'm reading this text and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. Because I was literally anticipating this guy flying in the next day. I was excited about this, And I just didn't know what to do, what to say. I'm like, what? And so anyways, and simultaneously the dad called me. So this was her brother. The dad called me while I was in church and had left me a voicemail. And I got the voicemail and I listened to it. And obviously it was everything you could imagine, you know? And so I called the dad back first. And it was a tough conversation, you know? It's like, because him and I, the dad and I, had only spoken one time prior to this conversation, and he trusted me, right? And we had this, yeah, I don't want to say bond, but like he trusted me. And he was like, what do I do? And I didn't know. I'm like, I don't, I'm at a loss for words, you know? And what I did end up ultimately sharing with him, which kind of goes to what you were saying, Ben, we're uniquely qualified now to help other people. This was the only thing I could come up with. I said, I can't imagine what it is that you're going through right now. What you're, because he had found him, right?
Yeah.
Just hours prior.
Yeah.
I said, you're going to go through this process. I'm going to be with you every step of the way. I'm going to get you resources as much as I can. And you guys trust me in that. But I did say, at some point, you're going to be in a position to be able to walk with other parents that have gone through this exact situation. It's the only thing I could come up with in that very moment. But I think it's the truest thing. It's the most relevant thing and it may take a year, may take 5 years, but at some point being able, and I think that speaks volumes about these retreats that you do and the online stuff that you do, that the connections that are made, I think are going to be the strongest. Even if you look on a spiritual level, like God speaks through other people. And did it help? I don't know. It helped me. And it sounded good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I think I'm giving him proper, advice here. And then I called the sister because it was her brother. And you could tell there was a stark difference, not a big difference. I'm not talking to him and then talking to her. She said things she said to me, I know he's at peace.
Yeah.
She said different phrases that I'm less worried about her and her grieving process than I am him. Long story short, I ended up connecting her with Sean from Lit. And so hopefully they get involved in that. But, all to say, like, kind of circling back on this, it's tough. It's tough to have these conversations.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And referring them and the father, to Lit, where there's other parents that they can connect with, I think is the best thing that you can do. And for myself, there was even my children, my husband, it's different when you're a parent.
Yeah.
It's different. And you can't say they're in peace now to a parent, that early on. It's just, it's traumatic. It's the most unbearable pain possible. And to be with others is the most powerful thing. I was just recently in my group, the parents, and we were talking, and so often they will say, I can't talk to my husband. I can't talk to my children about this. I can't talk to my best friend, not even my therapist. They don't get it. And we get each other. And then we were talking about like how we move through life with like this mask on and pretending. But in our groups, we get to take this mask off. When we come together, we can bear witness with each other.
It's funny you said that because what I just heard from both of you is the different responses, the way that people handle situations, where, in particular, going back to the situation I was talking about earlier, mom is handling it way different than dad.
Yeah.
And they've actually both had conversations with me about it. Oh, he's not, I'm doing this. He's like, so there is a difference in the way that they handle these things too.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking also, I'm like, I'm trying to connect a lot of dots, because at first I started thinking about like the recovery process. Like you said, like the pain's always there. You know, for me, the pain of my active addiction is always there. But I'm connecting all these dots and similarities and parallels to, like, say for instance, I was just thinking, like, what if I worked in a hospital and you're losing people and you have to tell their loved ones, hey, we lost. There's a part of me, I'll just be vulnerable. The part that I struggle with what Tom was talking about, for instance, this is what went through my head. I don't know if I told you this, Tom, but there's a part of me that feels guilty, because when Catherine sent us a group text, it actually said, thank you for everything that you've done.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, my God, your brother's no longer with it. We failed.
Yeah.
And then I do this every time.
Yeah.
I've gotten better with it over time. I won't say I've gotten better. I've just done it for a shorter window of time when I do it. But I sit back and I ask myself, could I have said something different? Could I have made one more phone call? Did I miss something? Could I have picked up on something that they said and responded differently? Did they drop a hint that I didn't grasp?
Yeah.
And I start playing that tape back through, and that's what drives me crazy. And I've gotten better at, like, turning that off.
Yeah.
I still do it for a short period of time.
How do you turn it off, though? I'm curious.
So it's funny. I specifically with this situation that just happened, we do adventure groups here. We were having a surf group, which is very intimate, being out on the beach. And I always share at these. And I believe in sharing like a human being. You know, Tom and I, we might oversee rock, but we let our clients know we're human beings. And because it's a group setting, I always share last, because I want to hear what everybody says. That way, if I have any insight or experience, knowledge, I can share. So I always go last. And this time I was like, you know, on the topic that was at hand, it was relevant. I said, you know, guys, I'm really struggling today.
Yeah.
I'm bummed out. And I explained the situation. And I said exactly what I just said. Like, I feel like that we failed this family.
Yeah.
Like, but they're still thanking us. But to answer your question, what I told them is that showing up with them, specifically, I forget exactly what it was. Oh yeah, that's what it was. There was an alumni meeting the night before, and a really good friend of mine in recovery spoke to our clients. And he sent me a text at 9:00 the night before that said, Ben, I just want to let you know you have the best clients. Every single one of them that I spoke for, there was like 30 people there, wanted to be there. They're so into their recovery. And so I told the clients that he had given me that feedback, and I said, you guys are the ones that keep me showing up. I didn't want to come in because I failed.
Yeah.
But I also know on the other side of that, if I just hang in long enough, whether it's hours, days, weeks, or months, something bright is going to come through. And it always goes back to what my sponsor taught me. He's like, we're not in the results business. We're in the business of showing up. Yeah. Keep showing up, and that light at some point will burst through. And when I experience grief in particular in this field, at first I do what I said. I beat myself up. But then there's almost a part of me that gets driven, determined, and maybe even a little angry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm taking this as fuel, and I'm freaking helping those people that are in front of me right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't want it to happen to them. So it's...
Yeah.
Turning pain into purpose is what I heard from you, basically.
Yes. Yeah. And it's the same, same with grief and with other parents. And for myself, I've had those ruminating thoughts and the what ifs. And I saw him that weekend, like he wanted to see me that weekend. I spoke to him the night before. And I hear this from parents, and it's a consistent thing. And I share with them because I was at a place where the thoughts just start to take over your mind. These what ifs, especially, for a parent, because that's our job, to take care of our child, no matter what age. It's like in our DNA. So how do we overcome? How can we be with that and still continue on? And I hear, like what you said, showing up for others. For me, showing up for others is a big part of it. The grief retreats is a big grief and love. It's a big part of it. And something else happened for me, because at the pinnacle of that rumination and what ifs, where I was like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to get through my days. How do I deserve to live feeling this? It was painful. And I prayed and went to that stillness inside, and I heard a voice say, "Give it all to me. Give it all to me." And I keep handing it over to something much greater than me. And that's how I get through that. And it still comes up. And, but showing up for others, showing up for other parents in honor of my son, in honor of their children, in honor of my children that I have now.
Mm.
Like you said, in the moment, because those fears, there's like fears of the past, and they're the fears of the future. What could happen when those thoughts come? What am I doing right now? How am I showing up for me? How am I showing up for others? And that's how I've been able to move through that and not feel I'm just carrying, the weight of the world and this incredible shame that comes along with it.
I love that you said being there for your other children too.
Oh, yeah.
Because I haven't, I have 2 sons, I haven't gone through that. But, anytime that I'm going through struggles in life, it is really easy for me to check out and forget about them.
Yeah.
So I have to be very intentional about putting them first. Yes. And remembering they're going through this too. It's
yeah.
I've seen that happen with families in particular, that a child passes away, mm-hmm. and the parent, I'm thinking of one family in particular, I won't say who it is, but the parent, it's probably been 5 years, and this parent cannot get over it. And the thing is it's gotten to the point now where the kids, I don't want to say the kids are over it, but now they're like,
you're never over it.
You're never over it. But now it's almost as if the kids can get resentful.
Yeah.
At the parent, like, hey, we are still here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we still are your children, and we still need the attention. And this reminds me of a TV show, Bloodline. Did you ever watch Bloodline?
No.
Did you watch it?
With the Keys. I didn't make it all the way through the whole thing, but I've seen a couple of seasons.
Yeah, I don't think I made it the whole way through, but one of the premises of the show, this guy's daughter got killed in a boating accident. And it was like his, I don't want to say favorite child, but it was very apparent that it was his favorite child. And this dad got so angry at everybody else, and at the expense of all the other children and all of his relationships. He was just angry at the world, angry at everybody. And it's just unfortunate when you see that happen, because now I get it. If it's your only child, and and I don't even know, no sense in even going down that road, but like in your situation, which I wanted to bring this up, kind of maybe make this more fun at this point.
Yeah, this is heavy, dude.
You got
I need
prior
read a little.
prior to recording, you had 2 sets of twins.
Yes. 2 set of twins.
Lance, your son that passed 3 years ago, was the twin of Ava? No.
Callie. He's my youngest.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you had Callie and Lance, and then you have another set of twins. And then another child.
And then, and a singleton on top. I call it God's plan. I plan 2.
Wait, a what?
I call it God's plan.
No, what'd you say before? A singleton?
A singleton.
Just one child?
Just one child, yes.
Okay.
Just one child first, and then a set of twins and a set of twins.
Wow.
No, no fertility, natural.
And you can't even
plan it.
And you can't even say, I don't recommend that because you don't have any choice in the matter.
Yeah.
But my wife is an identical twin. So I was always worried. And my dad's mom, my grandmother, she passed away, an identical twin. So identical twins run in my family. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if I have twins, we never did. I have 3 kids, but
right.
None of them were twins, but I thought that was interesting. Is that a common thing?
It is very rare. And each set of twins is a boy, girl, boy, girl.
And that's even more rare.
And it's even more rare. It's just, Lance, I've always considered, like an extra gift.
Yeah.
And he was the last one. Never expected it again. And I was telling you earlier, I'm just so grateful I had him for the time I had him.
Yeah.
And, it's like we have these plans in life and things that we, I wanted 2 kids and, there is this whole other plan. And, we have, even when we leave, it's this whole other, plan.
Yeah.
David Kessler, who I trained with for grief and loss, he calls it, we have our lane and the what ifs and the whys. He will say that's God's lane or the universe's lane, however you want to say that. But we just don't have control there. And the mind wants to grasp and control it. And it's a never ending thing.
I got to repeat that so I remember. The what ifs and the whys are God's lane?
Are God's lane. We will just never get to the bottom of that.
Yeah.
And it will drive us, crazy trying to.
Again, we talk about that in the recovery space. There's so many parallels. That's what I like about these conversations is so much as the solution to different problems is the same. I just lost my train of thought.
You did that yesterday too.
I know, man.
You getting old timers.
God's lane.
Yeah.
How things
The
are.
what ifs.
we get that's what it was.
Out of our hands.
Then you get me back on track.
Yeah.
A lot of times we focus on like, why am I a drug addict?
Yeah.
How is this? At some point, you got to quit asking yourself the why and start working towards the solution.
Yeah.
Like what? I'm never going to figure it out.
Which leads me into my next question, and we can start landing the plane here. You spend a lot of time, you obviously lead the grief, and did you do it intentionally? You said grief and love.
Yes.
Versus most people associate grief and loss. Is that an intentional thing?
It is.
Okay.
It is. And it comes from the experience that I had of grief, that I have of grief. It was about 6 months after my son passed. And again, these feelings are very difficult and very hard. And I had to sit with them because I knew if I didn't, if I try to spiritually bypass this or try to, can't meditate this away, cannot philosophize this away, because I've been practicing yoga for so many years. I was like, none of that really matters now, except for all I could feel was this incredible pain. And I knew I had to sit with it and be with it intuitively. Otherwise, I didn't know if I'd be able to show up for my other kids. It felt like I would get sick or somehow it would store in my body. And I wouldn't be able to just live life. So I intentionally sat with the grief, sat with the pain, and chose to like follow it down that rabbit hole that seemed like it was never ending, and it felt like I would die. And I got to the bottom of that grief, of that pain, and discovered that it was from the most incredible love, that it came from the deepest love for my child. And that's where the pain of separation was. That pain of separation from this being, that I love so much, from my son. So it really helped me to hold my grief, to understand and to experience that it does come from this place of love. And that's where the retreat, that's what we hold.
Well, what I want
for.
You run these retreats, you have the groups that you're leading with Lit as a leader. Do you have anybody that is like that you go to for like times of, because I mean, you don't have this figured out. We never do.
No.
Do you have people that, because people rely on you, like, hey, we're going to Sweden to see Prema and to do the retreats. They're relying on you.
Yes. Yeah.
They're also relying on you to show up weekly or whenever to do these Zoom meetings. Who are the people or person that you rely on to show up for you?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. And I lead the group, the retreat with another grief group leader. And she's been an amazing support for me. She was my original grief group leader. So we do this together, like you two, you kind of support each other. And I have to say this, Lance is here with me. When I question myself when it came up, to create this space for other parents, I was like, how can I do that? I can't do that. And I heard him say, this is our work now. And so, he's very present, in this work. And I also, my meditation practice is I go to stillness. For me is like where I recharge, where I reconnect to that deep ocean of who I really am beyond all of the feelings and the circumstances. And when I say that, who I really am, of that, love that has created all of us. So that's where I really go for my deepest connection.
I want to point something out on a psychological level and bring it back to exactly what we're talking about. Where like, how am I going to show up for others if I'm in this much pain? And again, related to the recovery process, for instance, when I sponsor somebody, right, and I'm taking them through the 12 steps or sitting with them through a counseling session, whatever the case may be, the reality of the situation is I'm not telling them, I'm telling myself. So like a lot of people are under the impression that as the sponsee, you're the one getting the help.
Yeah.
But there's a saying in recovery, as the sponsor, I'm actually the one getting more. Because, and we talked about this on a previous episode, where like the best outcome is for somebody to have their own aha moment. And essentially as a sponsor, helping somebody else, I'm having the aha moments. Mm-hmm. I'm relaying it to them. However, what's actually happening is I'm saying it to myself.
Yeah.
And because I can't walk out of there, lack of a better word, feeling like a hypocrite, where I'm like, hey, you should live your life on these principles and behave this way and partake in this and practice that and that. But if I don't believe a single word that's coming out of my own mouth.
Yeah.
So there's something about when you become the teacher is really when you, I don't know, what's the saying? When you become the teacher, you master whatever. I don't know. You know where I'm going with that.
I believe you're always the student. You're always a student. Like, I don't really feel like a teacher, or even, I mean, I've gone through the credentials and education, but it's the experience and the wisdom. Mm-hmm. And as I hear you, I hear your heart, your wisdom speaking. And And what a great gift that you get to have to
Yeah.
show it for others.
I feel like though, like in your case, and I'm looking at you like you're leading this. Therefore, in reality, your application of that stuff by default as being the leader is probably more so than everybody that you're quote unquote teaching. You know?
Yeah, it helps. I mean, it goes back to even what our 12 step is,
Mhm.
you know, for whom much is giveth, much is taken. I don't know. Is that
My mom always said, to whom much is given, much is required.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. That's how it goes.
Yeah. It takes courage.
It does.
Yeah.
And it's scary.
Well, I think this was very enjoyable, and I'm glad we got to do this. So let me ask you a couple more questions, lighthearted. How long does it take to get to Sweden?
It depends. If you're on the East Coast, it could take 9 or 10 hours. On the West Coast, usually like 14 to 17 hours. And then you have a layover often, in London for a couple hours. Yeah, so a lot. So our parents, they pay for their tickets, and we have, we offer the retreats. But
And where can people find out about this?
at our website.
And that is
soham.se, and that's SOHAM.se. And you'll see the grief. We also have another type of retreat that we do, but you'll see the grief and love retreat there. And Soham means I am. And I am is symbolic of I'm connected to my heart.
right.
I'm connected to the divine. I'm connected to you. It's I am. That's what I'm doing here. I am. It helps me to connect to.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's cool. Take us through when. Okay, so you land in Sweden. I've never been to Sweden. I want to go to Sweden.
Yeah, you're welcome.
They get off the plane, and then you're in the countryside. They stay at this property. Do they leave the property, or are you there the whole time?
Yeah, so you land in Stockholm, and the airport there is Arlanda, and we pick you up. So we arrange for pickups, and so we bring you to our place in the countryside, which is 3 hours, from...
What's that drive like? Is it like driving here? No,
not at all. It's like you landed on a whole different planet. It's just different. It really is a different world. And we do have the retreats during the summer. So it's just the height of the nature and beauty in Sweden. And Sweden's just really a beautiful country. So you drive through, it's just like this long drive through farms, and sometimes you'll go through some forests or, on the highway. And then you reach this town of Nora, and that's the closest village to our property. And that is 12 miles from our property. So you go through this cute little village, and then you go through some more like farmlands. But it's not like these big farms you have here in the U.S. They're, there's small family farms that have been around for a long time, generations in the families. So you'll see some cows and some sheep and people selling eggs on like a stand for eggs on the side of the road, or signs to buy some goat cheese.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty special. And then about 12 miles you get to our place, and it's off. So it's not on a busy road. It's like there's a dirt road in front of us with a beautiful walking path. You can go through the forest behind our house, and in front of the house there's a couple acres between the homes, and it's just a big old farmhouse that we fixed up and renovated. We have this side barn from the 1600s that my husband and I and some more people in the community that have renovated. We've had a lot of friends that have helped. And so you can stay in the side barn with a really like rustic room, 2 people can share. And then there's this common area in the side barn, and there's pictures on the website. And it's just a really fun, light, airy place. And then the house, we have room for 14 people. And then on the side barn, we have room for 8 people. No, I'm sorry, 4 people. So
I'm just as you're describing that, I'm like, like imagery's going through my head. Like I was picturing like driving down this dirt road with like a river over here, and then making a right onto the driveway, being greeted by like white-tailed deer, and their tails fluttering, and like turning around and and you're like following these white-tailed deer up.
You do see deer, and you see moose if you're lucky.
Oh, really?
And they're huge.
Oh, they're huge.
Oh, they're beautiful.
I hear they're dangerous.
Yeah.
They're very shy.
Probably wouldn't want to stare one.
Maybe the Swedish ones are nice. The American ones are
I've
mean.
never heard of anyone getting hurt by a moose.
Really?
Yeah. We have them around our property, but they don't ever hurt. They don't even, you never see them on the property. They're very shy. They only come out like at early morning or dusk.
Now, what are the people like?
Very friendly.
Yeah.
Swedes. I mean, my husband's Swedish. Very polite.
Is he here or is he back in Sweden?
He's back in Sweden right now. Yeah. Very friendly, very polite, very, I would have to say very proper. Have a very old culture.
Yeah, they're a population of what, like 12 million, something like that?
Yeah, it's about, yeah.
Don't ask me how I know that.
No, that's about right.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And it's about the size of California, the country.
Wow.
Yeah, so
it's a large country.
It's a large country.
With not a lot of people.
Yeah. So that, I mean, I have to admit, I love that we have a lot of space and we are surrounded by lakes. And that's funny. There is a river as you drive up. There's a river along the left.
Is there?
Yeah. And you do turn up on the right.
You're meant to go, Tom.
And you turn up on the right and there's this long driveway with just these beautiful trees, oak trees. And then you come to there's a row, like different homes, and ours is up on the right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what I was maybe.
Yeah.
If you said white-tailed deer.
Yeah. we do have them in the garden.
Yeah.
And they come around.
It would be, it would be interesting if we did like a real recovery talk retreat at your place.
Oh, that'd be incredible.
That
would be amazing. Because this space is a space for healing. And when we first started to create it, the word that came up was creating space for grace. And when I say grace, that possibility of healing. And
we should look into that. Gauge the interest. See if anybody would be interested. Would you go
to Sweden? I'm not big on travel. I'm kind of a homebody.
All right, well, I'll go.
It's very comfortable where you're on the property and you have walks right from the property. And we do local little outings, but they're local. So you're not like in the car for long periods of time.
I should go.
Oh, absolutely.
I've been to Austria, Germany, and Switzerland.
You have?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
When?
In high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I do need to venture out of the country.
I've never been out of the country.
Oh, really?
No. Yeah. I mean, I've been to Canada, but that doesn't count.
Yeah. My passport's expired right now.
I don't even have one.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, we do have natural cold plunge. We have the lake, which is very cold, and then there's this big, beautiful sauna. It's about half hour and about half a mile from our property.
What's the weather like there? Because
summer's gorgeous.
I lived in Minnesota for 4 years, and Sweden just sounds like Minnesota weather to me.
Oh, it's magical.
Like the summers are gorgeous, but the winter's freezing.
The winter's cold, yeah.
Real cold.
It can get really cold, but not as cold as upstate New York. I've spent time up there.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's very magical when it snows and the lakes freeze and you can ice skate on the lakes.
See, Minnesota, if it was in the middle of winter, if it was 10 degrees, you're like, thank God it's warm out. There's some degrees on the board.
Yeah.
What's their currency? What money do they use?
SEK, S-E-K.
SEK?
Yeah, it's called SEK, SEK, kroners. Kroners.
SEK, kroners?
Yeah, so it's called Kronor. Kroner.
And what's
Kroner.
SEK?
That's the name. Like American currency, like we say USD.
Yeah.
So their currency is called SEK, SEK.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
And
Yeah.
so you just have kroners.
Then you have kroners.
Do you have coins?
They discontinued the coins.
They don't have no coins.
About, I don't know, like 4 years ago. No coins, no value to coins. They're becoming a cashless country. People don't really like that, but there's a lot of it
So
is electronic.
is everything, and we're going to wrap this up, but
Yeah.
is everything like 1 kroner, 2 kroner, 3 kroner?
So there's about 1,000, 100 kroners to $10. So 1,000 kroner is about $100, more or less. It changes between 10 to 12 kroners per $1. So
Last question about Sweden. How is the food?
the food is really it's really good. It's very fresh.
The only thing I know is Swedish meatballs. I don't know
Yeah.
Is that a
anything else.
thing? Or is that just IKEA?
Oh, it's a thing.
Okay.
Swedish meatballs is a real thing. But
And
when
I
I
love
think
those.
when I think of food, I think of quality.
Yeah.
So we get really good quality. We have no GMOs in the country. Our dairy, we don't have growth hormones. Cows aren't given antibiotics and growth hormones, just, as usual.
And you've lived there how long?
8, going on a little over 8 years.
And did you notice, because I'm assuming you went from the States
From
to
LA.
You moved from LA to Sweden?
Yes, LA to Sweden.
How big of a culture difference was that?
Big. So we would go in the summers because my husband's Swedish and my husband and I are a merged couple.
Okay.
I lost my first husband to an overdose. So this is a big part of my family.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in 2011. And so my husband and I, we lived in LA and we'd go to Sweden in the summers. And it was just such a more gentle culture. And, when I would go, my nervous system would go from from being in LA in traffic, because we lived right outside of Venice Beach, to I would just feel it.
Yeah.
I could drop into that space of stillness when I was in the nature and quiet. So, and then we'd go back to LA and I noticed my nervous system was up here again. And I had a hard time dropping into that stillness. And so we started talking about it. What if, we go to maybe 50% of the time here, 50% of the time in Sweden. Maybe the kids are here in the US and then we go to, get a place in Sweden so that we can spend more time there, during summers and try to extend it. And LA, our kids were in the LA high schools. And after a couple of shutdowns, when your kids are locked in and you can't pick them up. This happened to my kids in Venice High School. I couldn't pick them up. They were locked down because of a shooter. We started thinking more seriously about moving to Sweden. And that's what prompted the move, because we thought it would be we wanted our kids to have an experience of a more gentle society. And, but then again, there's, Lance was here visiting in the US for a period of time to see family, and it was still out of our hands. Coming back to that whole, out of our hands. But it is being in the countryside and nature. It's like you can feel it. And I feel that's also part of the magic of getting out of your daily lives. And for me, it's been very healing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I've noticed that even the few times I've been back to Pennsylvania, where I grew up was very country. And you can notice a vast difference of, West Palm Beach, Florida to Newcastle, Pennsylvania, where it's, 5 miles up the road, I'm in Amish country, horse and buggy, and it's just like you get out of the car and you look all around you and there's nothing, no cars, no noises, just birds, and there's something to be said about that.
Oh, yeah. The quiet.
And then you
quiet.
come back here. It's
Yeah.
forget about it. It's, which is interesting. Your daughter, she lives in Manhattan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she didn't move to Sweden. She was older. She went to University of Santa Barbara, then Manhattan. And
all your kids are doing well.
yeah, I would say, I mean, she's in New York, and she's like this executive assistant and doing great. She, struggling with the grief.
Yeah.
But with all of my children have said, I'm going to live my life better and do better in honor of Lance.
Yeah.
So we've really have taken that seriously. So she, I believe, is, really going for it in life and really holds Lance in her heart as she does that. Gabriel, her twin, is in LA and he works for this big company and he's entrepreneur and doing really well and he's in recovery.
No, he's in recovery too.
He's in recovery and he also, it's like, Lance is with me. Walking your life, holding your child in your heart is a big way for us to honor them. And then my youngest daughter, Lance's twin, is she's in the Netherlands and she's studying art. She's getting her degree in art, and everybody's different.
Yeah.
Like my daughter, one of my daughters went to a grief group. Lit has grief groups for siblings, that have lost a child, that have lost,
a sibling.
Yeah. And it took about a year, but that's been helpful for her. And then Lance's twin, her artwork is where she expresses her grief. And it's really been amazing to see how it comes through her artwork. And so everybody is different or,
And she would be how old? 20?
She's 20. She's 23.
Oh, okay.
June, they're born. This is a little interesting thing. They're born, Callie and Lance were born before and after midnight. So June 27th and June 28th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I bet they love not having to celebrate birthdays on the same day.
Oh, yeah. It was always,
Yeah.
it was always a different day. Yeah.
Well, Prema, this was an absolute blast. I really enjoyed this conversation. Ben, any final thoughts?
No, you know what, dude? This happens. Like we do these in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's emotionally heavy. Now I got to finish the day and go back to work.
Yeah, but
it's hard.
Good. It's good.
I'm tired now.
Yeah.
Like emotionally drained.
Yeah, that's good conversation.
Yeah, it was really good.
I think it's going to help a lot of people. And so one more time, the website is
soham.se, and that's SOHAM.se. And we have the information there about the grief and love retreats. We do have a couple of spots left, and we also are creating, we have a wait list for other people, if they want to join another grief retreat that's not affiliated with losing a child.
Right.
And that, so that is there too. They will find that at that website.
I think we should really explore doing a recovery retreat. Would you be open to that?
Oh my God. We will host a space. We can provide some yoga meditation, good food.
Like for people that are sober
yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
I think that'd be cool.
You guys lead it. We'll hold space for you. I mean, that's what this place is about.
Okay.
That's what it's about. Would absolutely love that.
We're going to do it.
Make it work. Absolutely.
I'm going to
throw the hat over the wall. People need this and they will come.
Yeah.
That's what's been happening and it's needed.
Yep. All right. We got another to-do list, Ben. Nope. We're going to Sweden. All right. Thanks, Prema.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. That is it for this episode of Real Recovery Talk. Thank you for tuning in. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you could always reach us. info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com. And ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message. That is it. We will see y'all later.